Hello, it's Josh here again from Alternata, here to talk about my director's vision for Artist's Impression. As I said in my previous one, it's a two-acter about the artist who goes on hiatus but then gets roped into making his masterpiece. And what I really want to bring out with this is the use of the two acts is something which is really, really important to me as well. Is because in the first act is where we see the tension starting to rise, we start to see the beginnings of the breakdown of Marco's relationship and the ruination of his friendships. And the second act, we kind of see what happens when he snaps, when he has that final turn, because of the amount of pain the agent is putting him through. And when we just look at all the individual characters, which we'll see as we go along and when we get our interviews in, but the thing which really is important to remember about Marco is that he is effectively dragged into this, but he is willingly dragged into it. He doesn't resist for very long. And really bringing out the fact that he starts off as a quite happy, healthy person with good friends and a good relationship, willing to put himself out there to help his wife and his child, and how quickly he is to get really drawn in and fixated on his work, and how it really sucks him into this kind of, like, almost a tunnel vision. How he forgets everything else around him, and how he loses significance in everything else, and it's just his artwork which takes a hold of him, which most artists, like I say, do have. They do get sucked in really easily, and I really want to bring that across. But the other thing which is going to be quite interesting to see, that I want to see, is the use of the agent character. The agent is much like a puppet master, the man who makes Marco do his masterpiece, the man who draws him into this, the reason this play happens. And he's doing it for very, very self-aggravated reasons. He's not a happy person, he's not a good character. He's funny at times, but he's intimidating. And I really want to use that kind of like shadow master, the one pulling the strings behind the scenes, to really emphasise that. Because as a character, the agent does not make people feel comfortable. He does not use any sort of friendly banter to make people feel warm. He uses it to actually intimidate them and make them feel even more scared of him. And it's very, very rare to find characters who I get the opportunity to see work like that. It's nice when they are created, when they're around, but it's very difficult to bring that across, and it's a massive challenge for all of us. And also what I want to see in the second act as well is Marco, the change in him as well. So not lit physically and both from the character itself. So we see him being quite healthy looking, quite upbeat, to this kind of quite sallow-skinned, pale person who looks like they've shut themselves away from the sun for a month at a time, and really accentuate just how much he's devoted to himself, really show the focus, almost like a corruption in a way, a corrupting of the soul. He starts off pure, and by the end his soul is completely corrupted and completely ruined by his own hubris in a way. And with the artists as well, it's a case of having this kind of ensemble feel with them, because they are the part of Marco's world which he's had the longest, and probably he'll have it the last as well. That they're these people in his life who he's spent so much time with, he's grown up with, and yet he feels so distant from them. People who we all have, people who we've known since childhood, since school perhaps, but we lose these people over time. When we go back to them, we feel out of touch, we feel different. It's very difficult to feel the same way we do about these people as we did when we first met them, perhaps. And really bringing out the difference between him and his friends, and seeing that clear divide between Marco on the one side and his friends on the other, is something which I really want to pull out of this as well. I mean, as a director as well, the vision of this, what it's all going to look like coming together, is going to be quite naturalistic, but it's that kind of domestic look which is going to really set it up for this quite big surprise with the grand reveal of the masterpiece at the end, where it's set in this home which looks like a regular house, but the things which go on inside a regular house don't reflect what's happening here. It looks completely different. You don't see this much anger and this much fear in a regular house. You don't see quite as much subterfuge or quite as much of a shadow in a way, because it all happens in one room. So you get to see the puppet master pulling his strings, and then you see Marco kind of acting out these kind of crazed fantasies of his, and you get to see his friends who are kind of almost being pulled into this trap. You see the trap as it's laid, and then you see the trap being sprung, which is going to be quite a nice effect to have. But that's kind of what I see coming from Artist's Impression. Like I say, I hope it will look like that once we've got into our rehearsals, once we've really started pushing the show. Yeah, comment on this video, leave messages on Facebook. We'll be glad to hear what you guys think of it. So, from me again, have a good night.